Ladies and gentlemen, imagine waking up every morning feeling drained, restless, or burdened by an unshakable sense of heaviness. No logical explanation, no clear reason, just an atmosphere of unease lingering in your home. Perhaps relationships within your household feel strained for no apparent cause. Maybe peace has become something you long for rather than something you live in. What if I told you that the objects around you, things you may have bought, received as gifts, or inherited, could be silently inviting unseen forces into your home? Spiritual warfare is not just fought in churches or prayer rooms. It begins right where you live. The enemy does not need an open door when a single object, a simple symbol, or a forgotten artifact can serve as an invitation. The things we surround ourselves with are not always as innocent as they seem. Some carry a dark history, others were created for purposes that stand in direct opposition to truth, and many are silently working against the peace you long for. Today we will uncover 8 demonic objects that might be hiding in plain sight in Christian homes. Things that may be disrupting your peace, influencing your thoughts, and even interfering with your prayers. This is not about superstition or fear. This is about wisdom, about recognizing the unseen battle that wages around us, and about taking back authority over your home. Stay with me until the end of this message, because what you hear today could change the spiritual atmosphere of your home forever. The enemy thrives in secrecy, but today we expose the truth. It is time to remove what does not belong and reclaim your home as a place of light, peace, and divine presence. Evil does not always announce itself with horns and a pitchfork. More often than not, it enters subtly, slipping into homes in ways that seem harmless, even pleasant. The objects we keep, the decorations we admire, and the gifts we accept can sometimes carry more than their physical form. They can bear an unseen weight, an influence that extends beyond mere material existence. Many people live unaware that certain objects in their homes act as conduits for spiritual corruption, affecting not just the atmosphere around them, but their very thoughts, emotions, and even dreams. There are times when an unexplained heaviness lingers in a room, a persistent discomfort that has no logical cause. Sleep is disturbed, nightmares become frequent, tempers flare for no reason, and a general sense of unease settles like a thick fog. The human mind, eager to find rational explanations, often dismisses these feelings as stress, coincidence, or an overactive imagination. But what if there is more at play? What if the presence of certain objects, innocuous as they may seem, is quietly influencing the spiritual environment of a home? Objects have histories, and history is never neutral. A book containing spells and rituals does not cease to carry its intent just because its owner never reads from it. A statue of a foreign deity does not lose its original significance simply because it is viewed as an artistic piece. A piece of jewelry inscribed with an unfamiliar symbol does not become empty of meaning simply because its wearer does not understand it. These things, once crafted with a particular purpose, retain their spiritual essence regardless of how they are perceived. It is not belief that gives them power. It is their very nature. One might argue that a piece of wood or metal is just that, an inanimate object incapable of doing harm. But scripture and experience tell a different story. Throughout history, physical objects have been used as points of contact for divine power and, conversely, for spiritual darkness. God commanded Moses to lift a staff to part the Red Sea, and the Ark of the Covenant carried his presence among the Israelites. Yet idols and cursed items brought destruction upon those who possessed them. If objects dedicated to the divine can hold spiritual significance, why should it be any different for those linked to evil? Consider the testimonies of those who, upon removing such items from their homes, found an immediate sense of peace and relief. The atmosphere changed, the nightmares ceased, and a clarity of mind returned. It is not superstition, but discernment to recognize that what we allow into our living spaces matters. A home should be a place of refuge, a sanctuary filled with light, not a dwelling where unseen forces are given room to linger. To rid one's home of such influences is not merely about cleaning out clutter. It is about reclaiming spiritual purity, ensuring that nothing within those walls stands against the presence of God. Evil rarely presents itself in its true form. Instead, it hides behind culture, tradition, and even beauty, making itself seem harmless or even desirable. Many objects that people bring into their homes appear innocent at first glance. Decorative figurines, jewelry with intricate designs, books filled with ancient wisdom, or gifts from friends and family. Yet, beneath the surface, these objects often carry spiritual baggage, originating from beliefs, practices, and rituals that stand in opposition to the truth. The enemy does not need an open invitation when deception is enough to grant him access. It is a strange thing that people who would never consciously engage in the occult still welcome its artifacts into their homes. A decorative mask from a distant culture may have once been used in ancestral worship. A simple charm bracelet may carry symbols meant to invoke protection from spirits. A beautifully crafted statue of an Eastern deity, placed on a shelf for aesthetic appeal, is still an object of worship in its original context. These things may no longer serve their intended spiritual purpose in the eyes of their owners, but their origins remain unchanged. Just as a cup once filled with poison does not become pure by rinsing it with water, an object designed for darkness does not lose its influence simply because it is renamed as art or tradition. The deception is subtle but effective. A dream catcher, said to filter out bad dreams, traces its roots to spiritualist beliefs that contradict divine authority. Tarot cards, presented as a tool for self-discovery, are actually instruments of divination, something explicitly warned against in Scripture. Statues of mythical figures, displayed as cultural relics, were once the focus of sacrifices and prayers. Even children's toys, seemingly innocent in design, sometimes carry symbols or themes rooted in occultism. People assume that ignorance shields them from consequences, but spiritual realities do not depend on belief. A person who picks up a cursed object without knowing its history may still feel its effects. The presence of such items can invite unseen disturbances, restlessness, confusion, unexplained fears, and even a shift in the spiritual atmosphere of a home. Many dismiss these experiences as coincidences. Yet time and again, those who remove these items find an unexplainable peace returning to their households. This is not about fear but wisdom. Just as one would not knowingly eat contaminated food, one should not keep objects that have been tainted by unholy practices. It is not about cultural rejection, but about spiritual discernment. The question is not whether an object is beautiful, valuable, or sentimental. The question is, what does it represent? Who made it, and for what purpose? If it was crafted with intentions contrary to the light, then no amount of ignorance can change that reality. To remove such things is not to be overly cautious, but to choose what aligns with righteousness. A home should be a place of purity, free from anything that carries the residue of falsehood. There are certain objects that, whether by design or history, serve as spiritual doorways, things that do not simply exist within a home but actively invite unseen influences. Many people hold on to these items without realizing that they are more than mere decorations, books, or trinkets. They are tools, conduits, or remnants of practices that belong to the realm of darkness, and their presence in a household can bring about disturbances that seem unexplainable. The modern mind often dismisses such concerns as superstition, yet those who have experienced the effects of these objects know that the spiritual realm is as real as the physical. Some of the most dangerous items are those that directly facilitate communication with spirits. Ouija boards, for instance, are often treated as harmless games, yet they were designed specifically for contacting the unseen. Even those who approach them skeptically have reported eerie experiences. Voices answering from nowhere, shadows moving in the corners of rooms, or a persistent, oppressive presence lingering long after the game has ended. It does not matter whether the person using it believes in its power, the act itself grants permission to whatever forces are willing to respond. Tarot cards, pendulums, and crystal balls fall into the same category. They are tools of divination, and divination is not merely an old superstition. It is a deliberate attempt to seek knowledge from sources outside of divine revelation. Such practices have been forbidden for a reason, not because they lack power, but because they invite deception. The spirits that answer through these means do not serve the truth. They serve to mislead, distract, and bind people to darkness. Even if these items are kept without being used, they retain their original purpose and carry with them an invitation to spiritual interference. Beyond these obvious objects, there are others that work in more subtle ways. Antiques with unknown histories, especially those taken from temples, burial sites, or places of ritual, often come with a presence attached. Many stories have been told of families who brought home a beautifully crafted statue, an old mirror, or a ceremonial weapon, only to find themselves plagued by nightmares, unexplainable sickness, or an air of hostility spreading among household members. Such objects are not mere souvenirs. They carry the energy of their past youth, and that energy does not simply disappear. Even books, music, and artwork can serve as open doors. Books that promote witchcraft, spells, or dark philosophies, even when read out of curiosity, expose the mind to dangerous influences. Music created with the intent to glorify darkness has an effect beyond its lyrics. Certain paintings and sculptures, especially those rooted in the occult or depicting twisted imagery, carry a spiritual weight that subtly shifts the atmosphere of a home. Removing these objects is not about fear, but about authority. A home should be a place of peace, not a battleground for unseen forces. To cleanse one's living space is to make a conscious choice to shut the doors that should never have been opened, ensuring that nothing within those walls serves the enemy's purpose. Symbols carry meaning beyond what the eye can see. They are not merely designs, nor are they neutral when their origins are rooted in spiritual darkness. Throughout history, people have used symbols to represent authority, allegiance, and power. Some to honor God, others to call upon forces that stand against him. The problem is that many people unknowingly bring such symbols into their homes, thinking they are harmless decorations or cultural artifacts, without realizing that they retain the power of their original intention. A symbol is never just a shape or an image, it is a statement. A pentagram, for instance, is not merely a 5-pointed star. It has long been used in occult rituals to summon spirits. A depiction of a false deity, whether in the form of a statue or an engraving, is not just an artistic representation, it is an idol that was once an object of worship. Even if the owner does not believe in these symbols or their intended purpose, the meaning does not disappear. The spiritual realm does not operate on ignorance. It operates on authority. To have such an object in a home is to give it a place, and to give it a place is to allow whatever it represents to have influence. Many common objects fall into this category. Jewelry adorned with esoteric symbols, even when worn for fashion, can serve as an unintentional mark of allegiance to spiritual forces that oppose the truth. Amulets and charms sold as good luck tokens or protection pieces often originate from ancient superstitions and occult practices. Even certain hand gestures and symbols used in modern entertainment have roots in witchcraft, Freemasonry, or other secretive practices meant to channel spiritual energy. The fact that they are popular or mainstream does not change their essence. Consider the biblical examples where objects carried spiritual weight. When the Israelites brought pagan idols into their midst, they did not need to worship them actively for their presence to bring destruction. In the Book of Acts, new believers who had previously engaged in magic burned their scrolls publicly, not because they still practiced sorcery, but because they understood that those items carried power, even in passive possession. There is wisdom in this example. It is easy to dismiss such concerns as paranoia or oversensitivity, yet history and experience suggest otherwise. Many who have removed these items from their homes have reported an immediate sense of peace and clarity. The nightmares stopped. The heavy atmosphere lifted. Relationships in the household that were once filled with tension began to mend. These are not coincidences, they are the result of removing things that never should have been there in the first place. A home should be a place of light, not a storage house for symbols of darkness. The question to ask is simple. Does this item glorify God, or does it have a history of serving another purpose? If it was designed to invoke a power outside of divine authority, then it has no rightful place in a household that seeks peace and spiritual purity. Not all things that bring harm do so with a violent presence. Some work through subtlety, embedding themselves quietly in the daily lives of those who own them. Cursed or spiritually tainted objects fall into this category, not because they visibly announce their influence, but because their presence carries an unseen weight. These items, whether received as gifts, inherited or collected, can act as a foothold for darkness, bringing with them a spiritual disturbance that is often misunderstood. There are countless stories of people who have unknowingly brought such objects into their homes, only to experience an unexplainable shift in their environment. Sleep becomes restless, relationships become strained, and a general sense of unease takes root. Some report a constant feeling of being watched, an oppressive atmosphere that seems to linger without cause. Others find themselves plagued by persistent misfortunes, accidents, illnesses, financial losses, without any logical explanation. It is easy to attribute these events to coincidence, but those who have recognized and removed the objects tied to such disturbances often find immediate relief. Cursed objects do not need to be actively used to exert influence. A book filled with dark rituals does not require someone to read from it to affect the home. A piece of jewelry that was once used in a ritual retains its energy, even if the wearer is unaware. An inherited heirloom, no matter how sentimental, may carry with it a past of idolatry, occultism, or bloodshed. The object itself may seem harmless, but its history remains woven into its existence. Many people keep such items without questioning their origins. A talisman passed down from an ancestor may have been used for spiritual protection, not by divine means, but by invoking powers that stand against the truth. A decorative mask purchased from a foreign market may have been part of a ritual where spirits were summoned. Even ordinary household items, if dedicated or used in the wrong way, can become vessels for something far more sinister. The spiritual realm does not operate by human ignorance. It operates by legal rights. Darkness clings to whatever has been given over to it. To possess something that was once used in the service of evil, even unknowingly, can provide a form of unspoken agreement, an invitation that allows unrest to settle within a home. This is why Scripture so often emphasizes the destruction of items tied to false gods and forbidden practices. To rid one's home of such things is not an act of fear, but of spiritual wisdom. Those who have taken the step to remove these objects often describe a striking change. An atmosphere that feels lighter, a sense of clarity that was missing before. It is as if something invisible was lifted and peace was restored. It is no accident that certain things bring unrest, just as it is no accident that their removal brings relief. A home should be a place of refuge, and anything that stands against that should have no place within its walls. A home is more than just a collection of walls and furniture. It is a space that reflects the spiritual condition of those who dwell within it. Every choice, what is brought in, what is displayed, what is entertained, shapes the atmosphere, whether for good or for harm. This is why it is not enough to merely remove objects that are linked to darkness. A home must also be filled with the presence of what is good, true, and pure. Removing demonic objects is not the final step. It is only the beginning. What comes next determines whether the space remains empty and vulnerable or becomes a stronghold of peace and spiritual protection. There is a simple truth that many overlook. An empty space will always be filled with something. If one removes what is unholy but fails to replace it with what is righteous, the vacancy itself becomes an opportunity for darkness to return. A heart that turns away from sin but does not pursue righteousness will soon find itself drawn back to the very things it tried to escape. Likewise, a home that is cleansed of evil objects but remains spiritually empty does not stay protected for long. Filling a home with light begins with intentionality. It starts with what is displayed, what is read, what is listened to, and what is spoken within its walls. Scripture should not just be kept on a shelf, it should be spoken and lived. Worship should not be an occasional act, but a constant atmosphere. Artwork, books, and even the music that fills the air should reflect truth rather than mere entertainment that numbs the mind or glorifies the wrong things. When a home is intentionally filled with godly influences, it creates an environment where darkness cannot find a foothold. The power of prayer cannot be overstated in this process. A home should not only be protected physically, but also spiritually through consistent prayer and blessing. It is no coincidence that homes where God's presence is actively invited feel different, lighter, more peaceful, and free from the burdens that weigh others down. Those who have taken the step of dedicating their homes to righteousness often find that the conflicts, fears, and unrest that once tormented them begin to fade away. There is also the matter of vigilance. A home can be cleansed today, but slowly reintroduced to harmful influences over time if one is not careful. The world constantly presents new distractions, new deceptions, and new ways to make spiritual compromise seem harmless. What enters a home through entertainment, conversation, or even unnoticed symbols can slowly reintroduce what was once cast out. This is why awareness and discernment must remain ongoing habits, not just a one-time effort. A home should be a sanctuary, not a battleground. It should be a place where peace dwells, not where unseen influences are given a place to hide. To remove what is dark is necessary, but to fill a home with light is the only way to ensure that darkness never returns. When one takes a step back and looks at the home, not just as a physical space but as a spiritual environment, it becomes clear that every object, every symbol, and every influence within it plays a role. Darkness does not always announce itself boldly. It often enters quietly, hidden in the seemingly ordinary. But ignorance does not change reality. What is dedicated to falsehood retains its nature, no matter how harmless it appears. A house filled with cursed, idolatrous, or spiritually tainted objects cannot remain a place of peace. The good news is that no one is helpless in this battle. The authority to cleanse a home, to cast out what does not belong, and to reclaim a space for light is available to all who seek it. Removing these demonic objects is not about superstition or fear. It is about wisdom, discernment, and the desire to live in truth. What one allows within their walls will shape the atmosphere, influence the heart, and determine whether the home is a refuge or a battleground. But cleansing is not enough. An empty space is an invitation for something to fill it. And if it is not filled with light, darkness will try to return. That is why replacing what is evil with what is good is just as crucial as removing harmful objects. Scripture, prayer, worship, and intentional choices in what is seen, read, and heard will establish a home that is not only protected, but blessed. The journey toward spiritual purity in the home is ongoing. The world constantly offers new ways to compromise, but those who remain vigilant will experience the difference. A home free from unholy influences is a home where peace, clarity, and divine presence can dwell without hindrance. It is a home where fear and confusion are replaced with faith and assurance. And so, with the inspiration, our story, Mekuthti Gavuto Yasa. May this message serve as a guide and encouragement to take action, to discern wisely, and to create a home that stands as a beacon of truth. You are not alone in this journey, and every step towards spiritual cleansing brings greater peace and protection. Good luck, and may your home be filled with light, truth, and unwavering peace. Thank you for taking the time to consider these words, and may your path always be guided by wisdom and discernment.